I heard that.
Welcome back, everybody.
Let's open the show up with a sigh.
Our mics were on a little bit faster than usual that time, yeah. Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to go into the second final of the GSL Code S here in 2025. Hero just absolutely dominated GuMiho in 3-1. GuMiho with one really good map with Battle Mech, but Hero looking so solid in PvT. We're going to go into another PvT, this time Clasic versus Kira to decide who is going to meet Hero in the grand finals. I am really excited to get into this. It's nice to kind of have this deep dive into PvT because the GSL season this time around is so short, and also in every group we've had a Terran, a Protoss, and a Zerg, so we haven't really gotten in-depth on any matchup in particular. I'm enjoying this. It's been very fun.
It's
good
to
sets
be
of
back.
games.
We're going into Classic versus Cure here. We'll be doing an interview with them on stage in a second. Let's see if this one is short too, or if this is going to be a little bit longer. I feel, it always takes like a little bit to kind of warm up in the broadcast. I feel like we're moving so quick. I would like to have some longer games here.
I feel like it probably is. Classic and Cure, I mean, Classic especially is a much more macro-oriented Protoss player that Hero is.
Andy's here.
Oh, look at that.
Hi, Andy.
We're going to have a much more accurate translation of this next interview.
He just got up here. All right, Andy's going to translate the interview. But his mic's not on. All right, his mic's on.
Hello to both players. Cure, you showed phenomenal performance to make it to the round of 4. And this is your first finals in a long time. How are you feeling right now?
사실 지금 경기장에 온 지 얼마 안 돼가지고 좀
I'm in Classic.
조절을 좀 못하긴 했는데.
So I cannot really control myself right now.
자신 있어가지고.
But I'm pretty confident in this matchup.
않지만 충분히 이길 수 있을 것 같아요.
I know the odds are not too, favorable for me, but I think I have a chance.
제가 나이가 많긴 한데 아직 그 정도는 아니어가지고.
I'm not that age to, like feel all sad and depressed because of the rain. And you said that you don't want to face Maru, but now you're going up against Cure. How do those two players differ? I feel like Cure is the perfect downgrade version of Maru, so I think I have a big chance. Okay, let's hear from Cure this time. Cure, you mentioned that Classic is in really good form right now. And then you would pick the best Protoss right now as Hero and Classic. And he just dissed you right in front of your face. How do you feel right now? We scrimmed against each other. I told you before in the interview. So I saw we built up a camaraderie, but I think that's all gone now. I'll try my best today to defeat him. Then how are Hero and Classic different, Cure? And I feel like Classic is the downgrade version of Hero. Likewise. Well, things are getting heated up. The banter is next level. Maybe we should set them apart a bit. It feels like those two players did prep well for today's match. And the two downgrade players will be colliding against each other. So Cure, you did keep showing good performance, but you did struggle to make it to make it past the round of 4. What about today? That's right. I really wanted to prove myself today. I want to go to the finals. And although I did make sort of preparation, I don't think it was adequate in my standard. So although I'm a little worried, I have a few builds that I prepared. So I think I should be good to go. If you do make it to the finals, this will be your first finals in 6 years. So Classic. Even the round of 4, I'm really super glad to be here. It's been a long time. I probably will, so I will try to defeat Cure and move on to the finals. We'll see you on stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. I like out of breath Andy. He's just run up here. Can we get him a jump rope so he does some hops before the next translation? That was great. Excellent work, Andy.
Oh, Andy had a hustle to make that one.
Run up here, man.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to have Andy here for the this interview. I thought it was going to be the finals.
The first best of 5 was so fast. Okay, so guys, it's another PvT. I don't know if this is going to be similar looking to the last one. GuMiho's playstyle, you know, it doesn't look like anybody else's. I don't think we're going to have anywhere near as many Cyclones. But, you know, maybe he was onto something. You know, one of the games that he won, he was, you know, shoving hard with Cyclones. Clasic, I think, plays a little bit more of a passive style as well. Yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts going into this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that Clasic is going to be a little bit more of a macro-oriented Protoss player in this matchup. I feel like, I mean, of course, he's a great player. He has a killer instinct, but I wouldn't say on the level of Hero in terms of, like, the potential of the aggression. You know, Hero sometimes finds these timings or these angles of attack that basically nobody else can. And Clasic is one of those Protoss players who, kind of similar to Stats, I would imagine, in situations where it seems like it's a 50-50, he might go for the more conservative option, whereas a guy like Hero is basically always going to be like, no, let's attack, let's see what we can do. And I'm expecting to have a little bit more of a macro-oriented series as a result of that. I would be surprised if this one finished anywhere near as quickly as the opening series did between Hero and GuMiho.
Yeah, this one definitely should be longer. Yeah, you know, Clasic in fantastic form right now. Kind of crazy, by the way. GSL Final Four with no Zerg.
Yeah, it's been a minute, I think.
It feels like it's been a while since we've had that.
I think maybe the last time was, I can't remember if we had 3 or 4 Terrans in a Final Four a couple of years ago, back when Terran was really firing on all cylinders. But yeah, it is odd. You know, I would always prefer to have at least one Protoss Terran and Zerg in every single Final Four, but yeah, it is what it is. And here we have Cure. Now, I'm really interested in seeing where Cure is going to go with this, because Cure, for the longest time in my mind, has just had the reign as basically the best TVP player in the world. I think recently I'm looking more towards Clem as the master of that matchup. But for much of StarCraft 2, especially Legacy of the Void's history, Cure has just been the guy to watch if you want to learn how to kill Protoss as a Terran player. Now, the Protoss players have made a lot of strides in the meta since then. Protoss is also just straight up better on this patch than in patches in the past, so I'm not sure if that's going to still hold true. But, you know, we talk about Cure, and I feel like we always say he's overshadowed by Maru. But in reality, for many GSL seasons in the past, it feels like Maru is the only guy that can stand between Cure and a GSL Code S championship on any given season. It's usually Maru's the guy knocking him out. Well, I have a newsflash for you guys. Maru isn't in the top 4 this season.
What?
He's not. He got knocked out. He played Protoss. It was a big mistake. And so I think that for Cure, this is a unique opportunity where this guy who has had your number basically your entire career in GSL Code S is out of the picture. And I think for Cure, now is the time to seize the moment, show why you have been a TVP master for, you know, going on a decade now, and bring the fight to Classic, bring the fight to Hero, and try and lift that GSL Code S trophy.
Yeah, let's see what happens. By the way, if this is short, I think it's going to be with Cure winning.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Cure showed some pretty inventive aggression here. I don't mean like proxy, anything like that. I mean just like some, you know, fast drops and kind of unique unit compositions, trying to hit at different angles. Again, guys, the winner of this best of 5 is going up against Hero here to try to become the champion of the first GSL of the year. Again, so good to be back. I don't know what the delay is. I see one of the players joining and leaving and joining and leaving. It looks like it's Classic. I think they're ready to start now. We've been on the screen for a while here.
Just waiting for everybody to get ready. Looking at the maps. Takamak, Maganatha, Ultralove, Pylon, and Lane Lines. I feel like these are the 5 maps that we have seen just the most so far in this GSL Code S.
Yeah.
I think we saw Torches maybe only once or twice. Once in the previous series. I don't even know if we saw it in the group stages.
I actually kind of forgot it was a map.
We actually have
for the last one.
We have a map in this GSL, which I don't know if we're going to see at all. It's got 3 spawns, but it might as well not exist. All right, guys, game is now finally counting down. Classic versus Courier in the second semifinal match of the GSL Code S. Who's going to go on to face Hero in the finals? Let's find out.
Okay, Classic here in the top right, Cure in the bottom left. We've got a probe going across the map, but this is kind of just a super fast scout generally. to see that, you know, there's no sneakiness going on here, no proxy barracks or anything like that.
Yeah, usually it seems like most of the Protoss players in PBT thus far in GSL, either you go for this really early probe scout to make sure that you get a probe in the main base, you can spot, you know, if there's double gas, if there's going to be kind of Makarax or just some kind of insane proxy, or you go for the really fast sentry for hallucination. Sometimes you might even do both if you're going up against somebody like GuMiho. By the way, we have a completely packed crowd.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a couple more seats that are going to fill up here. You know, some people that kind of show up a little bit late for the finals, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting.
I heard that the GSL finals tickets sold out within minutes, actually, when they first went live. And then there was such demand that they did a second release of tickets. We actually have extra chairs here in the studio that we normally do not have. And then those also sold out very quickly. I even heard that some people are waiting outside, hopefully, to try and get a seat into this thing. It's very exciting to be back here in the GSL studio and have a live audience again after such a long hiatus.
It's nice. It's so good.
It feels like
so
life
good to
is
be back here.
Getting back to normal, you know?
So we don't have a second base here for Terran. Terran took both gases. He's getting his factory. And, you know, if you don't see a command center right away, that means something crazy has to happen. Unless he banks up and just drops his CC down here now.
Yeah, we'll see. We actually did have GuMiho go for a 1-1-1 with no command center in one game, which really surprised me against Hero. It's something that has been out of style for a long time. Usually when you see those siege tank pushes, they're off the back of, you know, maybe not the fastest command center, but at least a delayed command center. But here for Kira, he's not really banking that many. Okay, well, the command center did just go down, so.
Yeah, okay, so it's not a crazy one-base play.
Missed that for a moment there. I was like, what? Wait, where's the minerals actually?
No,
He's at 25.
I was actually being a little bit deterministic how the game was going to go, and I think that GuMiho game really left an imprint on me.
Yeah.
So this is just tech first, expansion second. So this isn't anything crazy where the game is going to end right away. Over here for Clasic, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say other than he's fast expanding and probably getting Blink in a second.
Yeah, the Twilight Council going down here in the natural expansion.
Nice juke, by the way. The Reaper's just going to run inside.
Yeah, Clasic was probably hoping that he could catch Kure sleeping a little bit there on the Reaper micro and get a few more hits in, but instead, Kure going to go right back into the main base, going to go for this one probe. Probably not going to get it. Not even really doing any hull damage, but anytime you get a secondary scout like this, even though there isn't too much crazy that can happen here in terms of tech for... Wait, you're just going to trade this one out for a probe? All right. I mean, the Reaper is one of those units that really starts to drop off in value later on.
Yeah,
So
I mean, the Reaper, you know,
it makes sense.
Other than scouting, it doesn't really have a lot of uses, and it takes up a little bit of supply. It's funny, too, because in the very early days of the game, the Reaper was like the most busted, overpared unit.
I played Terran back then, and then when they nerfed it, I switched to Protoss.
And, yeah, it was just funny. Yeah, it was this funny thing where, like, you know, I remember, like, that was one of the units they demoed, like, at 2009 or something, or whenever StarCraft 2 was announced. Was that 2010? I'm not sure. No, that was even before that. But I remember seeing units jump up and down ramps and being like, oh, that's going to be very good. I hope they don't make that too strong. And they had to nerf it pretty quickly. Anyways, you know, in this game, we've got Banshee Cloak coming here. The Hallucinated Phoenix is being deployed across the map. You know, I got to say, that's pretty big. He actually didn't get to scout anything. He has no idea what's going on here. That being said, it's not like there's a crazy tech here from Kure, but really good shutdown.
Yeah, we did have a third barracks get thrown down that did not get spotted by Clasic. So it's not Kure going for a really fast third base behind this. And also, he's going to have no idea of this Cloak Banshee, I believe. Maybe the second Hallucinated Phoenix is going to be able to move cross-map and spot that. But there is a chance that the first unit out of this Robo is an Observer that goes instantly cross-map, or maybe even a Warp Prism. And Clasic is just caught completely off guard. Okay, it is going to be Observer. He sees this now, but the Observer just now began production. There's none on the field. There is a shield battery, which will slow down the attack. And actually, Kure's not even going for the probes. He's just parking this in the corner. I mean, I know the shield battery does really dampen the damage output there on that Banshee, but...
So here come the additional gateways. Excuse me, I'm a little congested today. And right now, it's both sides just powering up. I think we're going to see the Terran try to move out here for an attack soon. But, you know, with charge, I mean, you're just going to trample that so quickly.
Yeah, It seems like the really fast meta of going into charge like this has been paying dividends, but the build that Cure is going for, it's not going to be a stage tank push. He's doing something that is much more Cure-esque. This is a guy that loves his bio ball. He loves Marines, he loves Marauders, he loves Medivacs more than basically any other Terran in TVP. I feel like I see him do the siege tank pushes less than basically everybody. It just always feels like Cure has more bio than anyone else. It almost doesn't make sense sometimes when I'm watching his games.
Yeah.
It just feels like he has more. And that's kind of the style he's going for here again with that third barracks coming in. This is a big army moving across the map, and it's also one that's a lot easier to micro. Charge is very good in situations we're going to be going up against basically pure Marines with like 3 or 4 siege tanks because it mitigates a lot of the splash damage on the siege tanks. Some of that, unless they're focus fired on the Stalkers, is also going to be hitting your Marines because the Zealots are in melee range. But the charge not going to be quite as effective against bio balls that can just kite them for days. Even this micro here with the Stalkers, you see them taking a lot more hull damage because the Marauder count is as healthy as it is. And Clasic on the back foot of this, he's trying to go into really fast storms. Size Storm already about halfway complete. 2 Templar are on the field. No doubt they are getting energy recharge as we speak. You see that one there on the top side already has the plus 100 energy. Protoss can do that every minute as a global cooldown for the same cost on Nexus as the Chrono Boost, only 50 energy. And so for Clasic right now, that's basically where he's going to be throwing any extra energy he has. The moment that is off cooldown, you put it on a Templar and you try and bank as many storms as possible. It's a much more reliable form of AoE damage than it was in basically any other patch up until Kadarian Amulet years and years ago.
So the first real move on the map is happening here. We've got the Terran moving up to the north. He's going to be trying to hit this third base. And we have, this reminds me a little bit of the previous series. We have the Stalkers all on one key and the rest on that. But hold on, he's not even going to end up with a surround, so it doesn't matter. He's just going to come in here and hit. And I mean, it seems like the Zealots attacked in before the Storms were blanketed. And I mean, does Cure just like have enough to break this open? I don't think so. He's going to have to heal up at least a little bit at first. There are 2 Widow Mines, so if Protoss overextends, oh, that was brilliant to have only one pick up, so he baits out the other one. Or baits the Protoss army into going into the other one, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, Cure was unable to get in there. Again, Storm reigns supreme in defending against any kind of Terran aggression.
Yeah, Cure, it wasn't a bad trade for him, though. Those storms, although they were really good storms, they did a ton of damage. They didn't actually confirm that many kills, so the bio ball is mostly unimpeded. Eventually, as more Medivacs join the force, things are going to heal back up, and Cure is sitting on about a 20 army supply lead. And it's actually Clasic doing a move similar to what Hero has done in the past with these Templar just going for a really fast, aggressive play with Blink Stalkers, with +1 ground weapons, nearing completion while he takes a 4th base behind this. Archon also morphing in. There are 2 Templar on that Warp Prism. At least 2 Storms could be available there. Will he go for that in the Mineral Line natural expansion, or is he going to go here into this beautiful arc that Cure has? Excellent micro from Cure. I love this split. The Storms, pretty good thus far, but I feel like the arc here for Cure is just massive, Tasteless.
Dude, the arc is god tier. Look at that. He's just not getting the optimized damage on there. I mean, Classic's going to have to run. In fact, the War Prism's picked off, and Cure is going for a dive in right now. I don't know if he's going to catch any of these, but I mean, that was so good. That was insane.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why Cure has been the guy to beat in TVP for basically ever. He just, you see how much bio he has on the field, even after that skirmish at the 12 o'clock pace.
I don't even know if this
crazy.
is crazy. When I saw the spread like that, part of me thought, oh, you should just like actually turn around.
I was thinking the same thing.
I looked at that, I was like, oh, I think he's basically got the formation down. You can see Cure is a very different Terran from GuMiho.
That ghost barely survives. Making an EMP on these Templar. That was a good storm, Tasteless.
Yeah, that might have been the best storm of the game here. But, he's got one more. If Clasic doesn't hold this, he's probably going to lose. The Colossus is going to make a huge difference. I think without that, he might have been able to be busted open here.
Yeah, but at the same time, we have such a Marauder-heavy composition here from Cure, and I think that's a nod to where the meta has been going in terms of these super fast storm plays. All right. Oh, man, Clasic. Got to be very careful pushing down that ramp into this bio ball. Oh, are we going to have a Doom drop in the main base? Okay, 3 Medivacs, so he's not going to pull absolutely everything. But the main base is very exposed. I don't think we have any Templar besides this one. I don't know if energy recharge is available. In fact, it is.
Oh, he knows it's coming too.
Yeah, 2 storms. So Cure gonna instead reposition. Oh, brilliant EMP catches both of those Templar. There are now no storms here on the front line. And Cure's doing a really good job of spreading Classic thin with these Templar. There's only 1 Templar on the field. That's that high energy Templar that was in the main base. No storms, only 2 Colossi. Thermal Lance still not yet done. 10 seconds left. Cure taking this fight. This time it is Classic with a really good arc. The kiting here for Cure, excellent thus far though. I mean, I don't know if Classic's be able to hold on. It's mostly just Stalkers. The few Zealots are starting to thin out. He's pushing back the Bioball. It's very red, but the DPS with this Terran army is so high. Stutter stepping forward. 1 Colossus goes down. Probes are falling. There aren't that many Stalkers left. 1 more Warping of Zealots is going to stabilize the situation here for Classic. And Cure will get pushed back, but at the end of the day, we still have 5 Medivacs surviving that fight. Some of the Marauders even going to be able to regroup with the rest of their forces. And Cure is sitting on still an army supply advantage. But with Classic now producing Colossi 2 at a time, I'm wondering if Cure's window is starting to close.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that game, that engagement there, that was really well held by Classic. Not only did he take a great fight down there at the 4th base, but he was absolutely prepared for Cure to try to drop the main. Cure didn't even pull the trigger on that. He actually looped back around. But, you know, a big theme we've talked about here today in this matchup, and it's very possible all the games today are TVP, by the way, is that, you know, Protoss seem to get deep enough into the game, and they have, like, all the boxes ticked for tech, and then it's really hard to kill them. And I'm wondering, after that battle, are we kind of at that spot in this game where, you know, we're going to suddenly see, like, 2 more Nexuses thrown down, and Terran's just kind of getting hit from both sides. By the way, you know, we talked about ugly hotkeying earlier. This is definitely one of those games where it's like the Zealots are all on this hotkey, the Stalkers are, and everything else is over on, you know, key 1 or key 2. And it's going to be hard to have healthy engages without a kind of mix of that. But the sophisticated stuff is instead going to be over here protecting the 5th base. Terran needs to get a 4th, and that's what that command center that just lifted off a second ago is for. It seems like what Classic wanted to do was run in and deny that, but it actually hadn't been planted yet. And, you know, with all the money coming in from these new bases, a lot more gateways are being made. I think we're going up to 6 gateways warping in.
Yeah, the production capabilities of both these guys are about to go through the roof. 6 more gates getting warped in. We got a shot of Cure's base a moment ago, and he has, like, an ungodly number of barracks for only being on 3 command centers for such a long time. Planetary now morphing at the 4th base here for Cure as he's going to start pivoting all the way towards this 3 o'clock base. There's a lot of damage here.
Oh, whoa.
Okay, only 3 SCVs going down.
Yeah,
I saw the vacant mineral line. I was like, wait, did you kill all that?
Yeah.
But no. And once disruptors get added to this composition, actually 4 disruptors on the field already, so Classic's been really on point with this transition. It's hard for a Cure to take a fight. I feel like for Bioballs in a situation like this one, you really want to try and spread yourself across the map, because a group of 4 Colossi like this, with all the disruptors on them and all of the storms, unless you get perfect EMPs and also dodge the disruptor shots, it is just a difficult engage, especially in a lot of the choke points that are existing here on Tokamak. I mean, there's some narrow attack pads where if you don't already have an arc set up or you're coming in from 2 different angles, I feel like just the geometry of this space is going to be benefiting the Protoss player here.
Classic slowly moving down here. He wants to try to force this 4th base away.
Ooh, I think there might have been 2 Templar in that Warp Prism.
Cure is just ignoring it. He's actually going up to the top. Nice storm there. We might have to have a recall here from Classic. I mean, you know, the Colossi are not that fast. Like, it's a little bit hard to try to catch up to this, but now Cure's going to run into this. So this is, oh my God.
Huge connections with the disruptors. Another great connection there with the disruptors. No storms just yet. I think the EMPs have been great here for Cure. The Vikings are taking down all the Colossi, and somehow Cure is fighting through this right now. He sustains all of the damage. Yeah, your disruptor shots were good, but my army engages even better. The Zealots now warp in. This might be enough here for Classic to stabilize. The initial engagement was really good for Cure, but with the reinforcements, I mean, that was so many Zealots that just got warped in. Somehow still Cure is hanging on here on the front lines. I actually cannot believe that he was able to deflect all of those Zealots. Another huge round of warp-ins. I mean, +3 weapons is about to finish here for Protoss. In fact, it just now did. One of these medevacs is going to go down.
Yeah, got one with a bunch of units in it, too. Nice shot. Big, juicy medevac kill.
Now, for Clasic, he's playing a really eco-focused style. It's almost like the way we see Raynor play some of his ZBTs, because Clasic is sitting on 91 probes to the 63 SCVs of Cure. So the supplies right now are very even, but the standing army for Cure is way more powerful. You can see right there, it's like, what, 1,500 more resources almost right now on the Terran side of things. I hope Cure is able to identify that he has this opportunity right now, because if Clasic has 1 or 2 more minutes to get a couple more production cycles out of the robotics facilities, to get more disruptors, to get more Colossi, to get more Templar and energy recharge them and remax, Cure's going to be in a lot of trouble. And we're nearing that position now, especially with ground armor level 2 finishing here. I'm worried that Clasic might have just a little bit too much time because his eco is just through the roof.
I mean, another big disruptor shot comes in. The Vikings, some landed. Nice storms!
Whoa!
That was what he needed to do. Can he actually dive back in? I thought Protoss was going to have to abandon that. Dude, crazy warpins. By the way, like, we're going to start to see Clasic, like, wrap around the Terran. We have Clasic literally in the bottom right base. This orbital ain't going to cut it, man. He just crushes that. And I actually thought maybe Clasic was going to push in a little bit further. Maybe he will still.
I think he's going to pivot around and try and hit the bases on the outside. It's hard to push up that ramp.
Yeah, that's true. Looks like he's sending the disruptors back home. Oh, there's a Liberator over here. That's good, but probably not enough to get the job done.
Nice engagement here for Curie, able to pick off these Zealots. A little bit sloppy there from Clasic, actually, as he's probably trying to defuse the Liberators that's harassing the main base and the natural expansion.
Seems like some of his stuff was on a move there.
Yeah, whenever you get into a situation like this one with Liberators and multiple bases and you're trying to pivot your army to another side of the map, it's very easy to lose track of all of these different plates, right? And Cure's going to use that as an advantage right now and just try and collapse in on this position. Over by the 11 o'clock expansion. Disruptor shot coming in. Great split by Cure. This one's also going to whiff. This Storm also whiffs. And keep in mind, we don't have any Colossi here. There's maybe 2 or 3 Storms left in this army. A lot of these Disruptors, they're waiting for their next shots to come in. If Cure can continue to dodge these shots, he still has an army supply advantage. Let's not forget that there's a lot of firepower here. And that Storm pretty good. Follow up the Storm also getting a couple ticks of damage, but this Nexus is certainly going to fall. Cure with some really good micro, fighting back here on the top side of the map, and this is what he needs to do, because the macro for Clasic has been so insane for like the past 3 or 4 minutes, but Cure is being a little bit more cost efficient in fights like this one.
He's going to try to loop back around. In the meantime, keeping Protoss on their toes, Terran can just grow right back into that base. You know what I wouldn't mind seeing, by the way, is like 15 cannons at these exterior bases.
Yeah, maybe.
He has so many minerals. You have so much of the map. By the way, I'm sorry. For a sec, I thought that wasn't a planetary. He's going to chuck these disruptor shots in. And it's kind of uncomfortable. Like, the planetary's part of the wall here. Oh my god. Okay, good escape there from Clasic. I didn't even realize Terran was coming up from above there.
This army that Clasic has is pretty flimsy. If Cure's able to come in with a flank on the top side, which I think he's looking to do right now, oh man, if he can get the concave, this is so huge for Cure. This is an army of mostly just Stalker, Zealot, and Disruptor. That's literally it. We have no Storms here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Without Storm, it's going to be all down to the Disruptor shots. He's going to try to rotate up to this top left base, which I think is going to be better.
Cure's army positioning is so beautiful right now. Okay, Clasic, he blinks in, he commits. It's just these disruptor shots that Cure has to look out for. Oh. So he's going to try and collapse right now. Oh man, the Marauder shot slowing all the Protoss army on the retreat. Clasic basically just throwing these disruptor shots to buy himself space. We have 1 Templar here with 2 Storms that is going to buy enough time, but that was a huge victory for Cure. He got so much damage done. And right now, the AoE for Clasic is the weakest that it has been in like the last 10 minutes of the game. No Colossi on the field, no Templar on the field. It is 10 Disruptors in just pure gateway units. If those Disruptors do not get huge shots off, Cure is going to absolutely rampage this army. I mean, talk about perseverance here from the Terran player.
I mean, look at the minimap for a second, though. Cure it's almost comical how much of the map he has here. By the way, this is a great pick over on this base. This was just out position. Now, that being said, it's a bit of an eye for an eye here. Cure's going to take out a base up there, but Cure has so much less bases than Clasic. Like, I don't know how many more bases can actually be taken here. I guess with a sweep through the top left, Kier can really kind of even the playing field, but still. I think the game plan here for Clasic is to try to regroup and then hit that base at 9 o'clock. If he kills off the 9 o'clock base and he just sort of does that over and over again, he should be able to win this game.
I'm looking at this from Kier's perspective, though, and he is sitting on like 40 SCVs right now, Tasteless. His mineral economy is mostly just mules. And that means that the standing army that Terran has is absolutely massive. We have 27 Marauders and 32 Marines to like 30 total gateway units, more or less. Now, keep in mind, we do have more Warpins now coming in from Classic, and the remax potential here for Protoss is huge. But the key DPS is hard to replace. All right. Oh, so many disruptor shots coming in. Oh, they're whipping! Classic! Oh no, the connections are not there, and Cure just absolutely barreling through that army. We talked about how flimsy and how unreliable a pure disruptor-based AoE is. And now we have nothing but Zealots and Stalkers. That is not going to hold a candle to the army that Cure has assembled. I mean, Cure is just an absolute battering ram right now. He is maxed on 154 army supply to a Protoss that has no splash damage except for 2 disruptors that are about to pop Tasteless. This is Cure's moment. Move into the heart of the beast. Take down these bases. Take down these expansions. Go for the production. I mean, look at this army right here. It's already massive. This is like a third of the force that he has. The rest is in the center of the map.
It's pretty insane, man. He's going to come down and try to pin this over here. There's still so much more happening on the map right now. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be possible for Classic to lose all of his bases. I guess I was wrong. It's insane what Cure is managing to do here. He is going to knock the Protoss down to 4 bases. He's actually hitting this now. I mean, this is insane, man.
All right, this is a really good engagement here for Classic, though, coming in on the bottom side with all those Zealots and Stalkers. It's about the dream engagement. It's what you could hope for. Oh, man, it's going actually the other way. Somehow Classic, with just the Zealots and the Stalkers, are able to pull even the probes on this fight. But at the end of the day, I mean, Cure, he's still getting so much value. He's focusing down all these Stalkers. Some of these medevacs are going to escape. And when the dust settles, it is Cure sitting back at home with 5 bases to the 3 bases of Classic.
Dude, it's 21 probes. There's 21 probes in this game right now.
That was the dream fight for Classic, and he is still on death's door. That is how powerful the army that Cure assembled actually is.
It's insane, man. I mean, I'm looking at this game, right? In the last few minutes, it's completely been turned on its head. Now, it seems like Classic's going to try to come in here and shut this down. Both disruptors are killed.
Cure, you are a master of TVP. What a beautifully played game number 1. He was up against the ropes against the Classic that looked nigh unstoppable with a fully fleshed out tech tree of Colossi, of Templar, of Disruptors, 90+ probes, thousands of resources in the bank.
It's done.
Cure fights back and wins game number 1, and he is pleased with that. He knows that one. He had, I don't want to say no right to win, but he was in a dire position, and he navigated it perfectly, Tasteless. And this is what you got to do. This is the power of Cure's style of TVP, where he is so focused on the Marines, the Marauders, and the medevacs. It is a very simple approach in terms of army composition, but he just has so much more than everybody else. He is not afraid to play on low SCV counts, and especially the way he navigates the comp, even within that bubble of MMM, going so Marauder heavy, knowing that, you know what, I'm going to fight, I'm going to engage, the Marauders are going to come in, they're going to take 3 ticks of damage from the Storm, they're not going to die, they'll be in the red, I'll retreat, I'll heal, and this is how I'm going to chip away at the Protoss army. And the moment that Classic loses the Swiss Army knife of AoE, the Storms, the Colossi, and Disruptors, Cure suddenly is just this unstoppable juggernaut. And that is basically his win condition when he wants to play a macro game like this one.
I mean, I'm really hyped for a Cure hero match now after seeing that. By the way, that wasn't a win with tech. That was a little bit of a drawn out positional back and forth where, eventually Cure kind of cut through so many spots. He was able to do it. I'll talk more about that in a second. We're going to go now into game 2 here as this best of 5 continues on. Okay. In the bottom right is Cure, and the top left is Clasic. Yeah, you know, that last game, there will not be an exact recreation of that last game. You can't recreate that, right? The way that Cure was able to nimbly move around the map and shut down these bases, and he knew when to give up expansions too. Because Cure is sort of like this slow wrecking, Classic's like this slow wrecking ball on the map. But you know, the truth is Stalkers, they're not fast. They're not the quickest units. They're not anywhere near as mobile as like Stim, Marine Marauder, Medevac, right? But Cure like knew when to just give up bases, when to move out, when to attack. And especially at sniping the disruptor shots, you know, Zealot Stalker, no matter how much you have, if you're against a maxed out Terran with Stim and Marine, Marauder, Medevac, that will melt it. You need this extra damage on top. You need the Psy Storm, you need disruptor shots that will connect, by the way. It can't just kill a couple units. You need really juicy disruptor shots. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Again, though, the question I'm asking myself is, can Cure win a game not in an insane, drawn-out endgame? Because that was kind of a miraculous victory. That's a super memorable game, you know. Or is that the only way that Cure can take on Protoss right now? Is in the kind of overcoming all odds in the endgame?
I feel like Cure is the kind of player that's going to be able to mix in siege tank pushes on specific maps and have the positioning figured out, where it will not just get curb stomped the way that we've seen some of these siege tank pushes get stopped by charge zealots in the center. You know, Cure is very good at setting up those timing attacks when he wants to go for it. But if he just wants to play Classic's game, because Classic is a bit more of a defensive and macro-oriented player, he likes to fill out his full tech tree on the ground in terms of Colossi and Disruptors and Storm, and just expand across the map and play that game. Cure has proven in game number 1 that even when he is in a disadvantageous position, he can hang with Classic. And part of that goes to exactly the way that Classic was trying to approach it. I wasn't keeping full tab on where the assimilator count was for the Protoss player, because I was just so taken by what Cure was doing on his side of the board that I almost wasn't really paying attention to Classic side of things in terms of development. But it seemed like for the majority of the game, oh, actually, hold that thought. We do have a Zealot coming in. I didn't even catch this one coming out. This is a old style opening here with a Zealot and 2 Adept follow-up. He's going to be able to at least delay that SCV there, the natural expansion. I think the goal is that you chrono boost the second Adept, and ideally they're able to meet up there at the Terra Natural and further delay the CC, but it seems like Classic is kind of writing that off a little bit by trying to scout down that Reaper. But to go back to the point that I was making before, one of the reasons why Classic was able to balloon up to a max supply very quickly, have 90 probes, have this gigantic bank. These Adepts are actually coming in here. I'm so surprised by this, man. I keep not expecting Classic to poke in like with a Zealot or with these Adepts. I feel like it hasn't really been going his way thus far. I'm surprised at these commitments.
I'm a little worried, man. You actually don't want to drop this many units. He's going to lose that Adept. Like, there's a point where like you lose a couple things and you can just be killed.
Now, PvT is very, on both sides, you don't want to lose like a Medevac is Terran going for a drop. You don't want to lose early gateway units like a Stalker or a Zealot and a couple.
We actually saw
of Adepts.
Classic kind of pull back at his chair. Like, he's feeling the discomfort right now.
Yeah, it's not going to plan.
Yeah, it's just like he can already feel the game's not going smoothly. And you know, remember, a lot of like these little attacks that Terran are coming out with, a couple of units you have extra to help you fight are big. Where did the Medevac go? My God. Okay, he's like just barely on the outside. He's going to drop in over here, and he's going to try to kill some workers.
This is like a Beyond drop, man. What a strange arrangement. Oh, he gets a sentry.
That's great, dude.
For a moment there, I thought it was going to get out of range, but
yeah,
now he's going to pivot to the main base. He does have the Reaper. He could shell 1 grenade maybe on the Stalkers, but that's a little bit. It's very finicky trying to micro this group of units.
Yeah.
A Widowmine, a Reaper, and 2 Hellions does not an easy microable drop make.
So he did kill the probes. I think we had the same bug where the unit just disappears.
Yeah.
So it could be a little bit confusing. But yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty good for Classic, you know, all things considered.
Yeah, just to quickly wrap up the point that I was making earlier.
Yeah,
so Classic was going into Storm very quickly, and that means that you're going to be ramping up with the gas very quickly. But beyond that, it felt like when he took all the extra bases, like from base 3 on, he wasn't really taking a lot of Esping Geysers. So that's part of why it was so hard for Classic to recharge with Colossi, with Disruptors, with Storm, he kind of had to choose one out of those three. He opted for almost like a Blink Stalker Disruptor composition, which can work against most Terran players in the world, but with somebody with the micro of Cure or like a Maru or a Clem, it is very difficult to actually make that happen. So I'm wondering here, from Classic's perspective, do you play a little bit more of a less expansive style and go a little bit more into the gas so that you don't fall into this trap of only having one AoE should we go to the late game? I'm curious. By the way, behind all this Siege Tank push, we have a lot of SCVs getting pulled.
He's pulled
Classic
the boys.
is keyed in on this. He has 4 more gateways in production. Some of them I think are finishing just now. And Charge, I don't know if it's done just yet. No, it's not.
No,
it's not even close.
No, it's not even halfway. So,
oh, wow,
I mean,
Chaseless.
this is going to hit, and it's going to hit real hard. You can see the Stalkers. He's trying to just chip at these SCVs. I think Cure is a little bit too far forward here. You want to be very conservative with the SCVs until it's time to actually clash with them. He's going to leapfrog the tanks, and he's going to basically do a push here. So he's going to keep the SCVs out here. Nice pop on the bunker, by the way.
I like this here for Cure. He's using Classic's wall against him right now. These bunkers coming in. Twilight Council coming in. Or not Twilight Council. Shield Battery coming in. Oh, look at this. Stalker's actually going to intercept everything. No, there isn't even a Shield Battery morphing in here in the natural expansion. This is very dangerous, Tasteless.
There's 2 gateways. They're both about to be taken out, and the Robos here. So there's like a lot of core infrastructure that's in the front. I thought this was going to be like one where he slams into the Protoss with the SCVs. Instead, he's going to keep the SCVs back. And make a ton of bunkers. And I just don't know if you can bust this.
Dude.
There are Stalkers intercepting, by the way, more reinforcements. So I think that Cure has to kind of park his reinforcements for a little bit here. He's going to come in. Some of these bunkers are not done.
And Charge just now finishing. Archon is trying to absorb a lot of the damage. Classic doing a good job of breaking through the very front line, but there's just so much left. Yes, the Siege Tanks have fallen, but at what cost? There are so many Stim Marines now breaking through. Kira showing why he is the master of TVP again here in game number 2. With just a monumental timing attack. Classic had no answer for it, and Kira now up 2-0 in this series. That was a killer build. But we talk about timing attacks and Siege Tank pushes. We were talking about this a little bit, how, you know, Kira is one of those guys where he's not going to go one base for a Siege Tank push. He's going to wait until he has all of the pieces of the puzzle, and then suddenly that super fast charge zealot timing, it's not scary anymore. And even using the architecture of the map and Classic's wall against him, I thought for a moment that Classic was waiting for some shield batteries to finish the natural expansion, but he really had basically nothing.
I want to talk about that attack from Cure. That was interesting because I think we could all agree, usually when you see SCVs pulled, you think of a very specific type of attack, one that just like snowballs, where the SCVs are basically used as a meat shield. By the time they're killed off, the real army's there, and you've lost too much stuff, right? Because the game, you know, when you're having fights, they'll target whatever's close. So the SCVs take all that damage. He did it. He like ran up there and stopped, and then threw down a ton of bunkers. And what he was really doing was he was actually pushing the infrastructure. The gates and the Robo, the thing that's supposed to be keeping the Protoss safe early, suddenly becomes the Achilles heel. It's like one of those, you know, it's like House of the Dead, where like the final boss, it's like his chest opens up for a little bit, and you got like fire bullets in his heart, and then it closes. That's what he was doing. He got in there, and he took out the Robo and the 2 gates. That was the House of the Dead monster, chest opening up, killed it, and that prompted Classic to just attack in with everything. And it wasn't enough. There was too many bunkers. He closed it out. Guys, we're going to go into game 3 here and see if Classic can either turn this around or if Cure is going to close this out with a 3-0. Okay, Classic top right, Cure bottom left.
So excited by Cure's play so far in this series. 2 very different games there in game number 1, game number 2. And also, just thinking back to a lot of the Siege Tank pushes that we've seen thus far here in GSL, it feels like the meta, at least in Korean TVP with Siege Tank pushes, is to hit faster instead of harder. You know, like these pushes, even the one that GuMiho did, was literally on 1 command center. It hit so quickly. But a lot of these Protoss players in Korea are really good, it seems, at stopping that. If they're able to identify it early and they go for the fast Twilight Council, you get charged, you meet them in the middle of the map, there isn't enough bio to properly support the tanks. Oftentimes, Protoss can even catch them unsieged. And it just spells the end of the game right there and then. Cure in that game number 2 did much more of a traditional siege tank push. It wasn't about the speed, it was about the power. He waited until he had just the critical mass of bio, and that complicated the defense there for Clasic so much. And even the SCVs moving across the map, I mean, they were all just constantly getting shaved down by the Stalkers that were kiting back, but that's their job. The SCVs die instead of the Marines. The DPS of the army remains this critically high point. And Kira was just able to convert that into, what, 2, 3 bunkers, a missile turret right at the doorstep of Clasic where all the key infrastructure was, and just barrel through that position. It was really a strong timing attack. And now Clasic here, you're down 2 games in a best of 5 against a Kira who has proven that he can play the supreme late game against you and win, even in a disadvantageous position. And he's also shown that he's going to come through with timing attacks, maybe when you don't expect them, that could just kill you if you aren't adequately prepared, not just in terms of playstyle and tech, but also with your SimCity. So it's very tough for Clasic, I think, in this position because there are just so many cards on the table that Kira can just choose to play.
Yeah. By the way, Kira is a very different breed of Terran from GuMiho. The more I'm watching this, the more I'm like, you just play the game totally differently. Like, GuMiho's got these really kind of eccentric unit compositions and weird, he plays so differently that I think part of the challenge for his opponent is like, they can't really practice for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a very different game. But like, look at it, Kira. Like, when I saw his spreads versus the Psystorm, where I'm like, oh God, you're so good at like what you're trying to do. His movement on the map. At the end of the day, I think Kira is just a level above GuMiho, though. He just looks really scary. It's when I cast games, I'm always trying to like look at like maybe where the weakness is or where the mistakes are. It's really hard to find anything with Kira,
He's just rock solid. And again, I've said this for years, just for whatever reason, when Kira does a timing attack like that one, or he plays like a macro game, it just feels like he has more stuff.
Yeah.
It is the most bizarre thing because, you watch these people play TVP at the top level, like a Clem or a Maru or a Cure or any of the other Terran greats around the world. You know that everybody's macro is basically perfect, but something about the way that Kira approaches the game, especially like the late game in game number 1, he's just not afraid to go to almost woefully low SCV counts. I think he was at like 40 to 42 SCVs towards the end of game number 1. He's like, no, I have mules. I'm just going to sit on 160 army supply. What I will lose in income, I will gain in effective trades by having just an overwhelming force. It's a really fun play style that we have from Kira, and I'm so thrilled that he's here in the top 4, especially with Maru not waiting in the wings to just inevitably shut him down, because Maru has been Kira's kryptonite for years here in GSL.
Okay, that was actually so good. Sorry we didn't cast it. I should have watched it off. We both just got quiet. I'm like,
it's like, you talk now tasteless?
Yeah,
it's like, no, let's just watch.
Is he going to get that? He like perfectly sniped the medevac. The Widow Mines are just going to get as little value as possible.
Yeah, that was
like so good. I'm in awe. That was a great play by Clasic. And by the way, it's much needed for his own sake. If he's going to be viable in this game, shutting down a drop like that where they're going to get basically no value is key.
Little moves like this are pretty nice, though. I mean, it was still a lot of lost mining time.
Sure.
Clasic needed to sacrifice 4 probes just because of the nature of the Widow Mine. You needed to shoot so that you can kill it. So it's not a complete loss for Kira, but yeah, certainly a very good defense by Clasic for sure. And that's a lot of production time also on the factory. And that's one of the reasons why I think we're seeing double bunker here on the low ground for Kira, because anytime you commit to something like 4 Widow Mines and a medevac, if Protoss is doing something Max Pax-esque in terms of like a 4-gate blink timing attack, it will just kill you outright more often than not. Like a player of Clasic's caliber going for this, if you go for those Widow Mine plays, especially if the Widow Mines do not get very much done. So I really respect Kira just kind of identifying the situation, being like, you know what, this is not the most macro efficient thing to do, but I'm going to be safe and then salvage the bunker when it's no longer needed. Meanwhile, this Raven going to come in here. Probably not going to go down. I imagine we'll be sitting at just a little bit of HP. That Stalker actually falling to the turret is really
dude,
funny.
He sent the probes back, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Auto turrets don't last for that long, so I guess this sort of resolved itself.
But yeah, Clasic just taking this third base. He's now getting charged about halfway complete. +1 ground weapons is starting here for the Protoss. More gateways are finishing up. Clasic really just powering up in a pretty standard way back at home, whereas Cure, I think he's still sitting on 2 command centers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the third one just now getting thrown down here at the natural expansion. Now, I would love to take a look at the units tab. I think we have 2, maybe 3 siege tanks. If it's only 2, I'm not really that afraid for Clasic in terms of a potential timing attack hitting that third base. And yeah, it is only 2. So I think this is just a couple of safety siege tanks that maybe will join a push just because Cure decides that's the best way to get value out of them. But I feel like we're heading down the road more towards where game 1 was TVP-wise between these 2 guys. I think it's going to be Cure pivoting much more towards the macro here, and Clasic potentially being able to fully flesh out his own tech tree back at home. But notably, we don't have High Templar early. This has really been the trend in PBT. Hero and Clasic have especially both been going for this. The really fast Templar archives, usually like 6 gate, Blink, Templar, third base, and then you just start energy charging those things right out of the gate. That's going to be immediate Colossus from Clasic. And I feel like in general that's going to be a little bit weaker in the firepower department against the army that Cure's got.
He's going to try to push up now. And it's going to be, this is, by the way, a dangerous area with the 2 force fields. He could get 2. Okay, he doesn't try to cut it in half. He tries to just block it out.
Clasic thought one of those stalkers was a changeling. Sniped it down, I think.
I saw that. Oh, no.
Oh, no. What is going on in the world of Clasic?
Yeah, he's actually a little wiggly right now.
It's like an episode of Game of Thrones right now. Yeah. I mean, Cure now going to be able to navigate all the way over here. This is where the Cybernetic core is. I feel like Clasic should just immediately throw down another one, but no, instead just warping in around of Zealots. I think he's trying to size up exactly how much Cure has here on the low ground, and this is a really powerful force. Oh, I love this move. A lot of Zealots, but look at that. Cure is so smart, just double Widow Mine, kind of anchoring that spot there at the third base, making Clasic pay.
He's going to come out now.
Dude, I thought these Zealots were going to get so much more done here at the third.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to start. I mean, he can get a little bit done. But, you know, Clasic basically stayed back. Okay, this is where it's really starting to add up. I don't actually think Cure realizes these Zealots are still here. So he notices now, but that's, 10 kills, 11 kills already.
Yeah, that's a little bit more than I thought those 2 Zealots were going to get.
Yeah.
To be rightfully honest with you. I think that Cure saw the other... He caught those Zealots in the middle of the map and was able to clean most of them up, and I think he thought that was basically the entire force.
So we've got a 4th base coming up here for Clasic. Cure with about a 20 supply lead here. His army is considerably bigger. But Classic's got a smart idea, and that he's just getting these slow drip of Zealots to come through here. 1 for each Widow Mine, then he'll send the real attack in. And, it's annoying. It's hard for Cure to really be on the map. He has to have a certain amount of units invested defending back home. And even when you're not killing that many workers, like making the workers run from one base to another, that's lost mining. So, as the game goes on here, Clasic, I don't know that he wants to attack. I think, we kind of talked about this before the series started, I think Classic's game plan is to play like kind of a slow game with these annoying little counterattacks and try to get really, really big. Similar to what we saw, in game 1, and then from there he should be, too big to fail.
Big disruptor shot. Next with a lot of Marauders and Marines right there. Force fields here are going to stop Cure from pushing up the top of this ramp. Now, we still have those siege tanks, or at least one of them up here for Cure. And the Medevac's actually going to go right to the main base. Keep in mind, no Templar archive still for Clasic. He cannot warp in a Templar and energy recharge it. There might even need to be a recall here in the main base. 3 Medevacs is just a little bit too much. The Colossi, it looks like, based on the minimap, are going to walk up here.
Is he going to get the Nexus too?
I think he has to kite away. It's a little bit too dangerous, but this is absolutely going to open up a window here at the third base. Disruptor shot, great split by Cure. 2 Marauders get deep into the red, but they do not die. And Cure is just picking Clasic apart right now. 13 probes fall between the main base and the third.
This is a game where Protoss just might never be able to get that big. There was a period where we had Zealot counterattacks. I wouldn't even mind seeing like 1 or 2 hidden pylons on the map to keep that up. But once Cure gets in Classic's face, it does feel like he's not able to do a whole lot. He came in there, he got the damage. He's scanning to just confirm there's not extra bases. He's trying to calculate exactly what his lead is at. And, Classic's not able to do a whole lot. Classic's going to try to come across the map. I don't know if he has an army that's big enough to take this, though.
He's going for it. He's sitting on 51 probes, and he has, at least until now, been doing a little bit of a probe kit. Even now, he's still not taking more probes. He's building a Nexus, he's adding in another robe in a robotics facility, and just now starting to queue up more workers. I feel like Clasic for a moment there, especially with the Warp Prism finishing up, was wondering, is my position so dire that I need to go completely all in on this next timing attack? I've got, I think, +2 ground weapons, I've got 2 disruptors, I've got my Colossi, I have a high energy sentry. Maybe there's a way I can make this push work. And then he did the calculus and was like, no, actually, I need to get back on the defense. I need to resaturate a 4th base over here. And so the probes are starting to trickle in. But now we're in this awkward situation where it's actually Kira, even sitting on 3 bases, that has a really good economy. The 4th command center is about halfway done. Kira's going to be able to instantly saturate that 4th base. He's at a 10-worker lead. How often do we see Terran leading the worker department over Protoss?
Try to drop in over here at this 3rd base. This is much needed here from Clasic. Clasic going to try to attack in here, and it's going to melt these Zealots. These are not going to get anything done.
That's not the worst trade in the world, but yeah, Clasic is hoping for a lot more with run-bys like this.
I wouldn't be shocked if this just gets cleaned up, and then we see, oh, well, actually, I was going to say Clasic move out again. He's already moving on the map. This army should be too feeble, too weak to actually take a fight over here. In fact, the Stalkers are going to blink forward and take out a decent number of those Vikings. You really want those Vikings to obliterate the Colossus before it can really do anything. And Clasic seems like he wants to have basically 2 smaller groups of units out on the map and try to hit a couple places at once.
Yeah, it does seem like Kira's gunning with that army in the top left and this army here in the center. As for Clasic, he still hasn't fully teched out the AoE splash tree. I'm thinking the reason behind that in terms of tech is that he just simply cannot afford it. He's playing a relatively low gas style right now. He's on, I believe, 5 assimilators in total. Hasn't saturated the 4th base gases or the 5th base gases where that 5th Nexus just got thrown down. Oh, blink forward. He's actually going to commit over here. I'm surprised at this engagement, but he's able to pounce basically on this command center. He caught Kira out of position. A lot of SCVs now going down. This is the kind of win that Clasic has been needing for a while now. These Stalkers also warping in here with a blink forward. Should be able to get this medevac. Indeed, they do.
He's going to kill the one Marauder that pops out there. And yeah, Kira's just going to back away from this. I think he actually can get the command center. That's pretty big. That's a kind of a shocking moment. You know, I think Kira thought Clasic was going to stay back and play safe. I was kind of talking about this earlier, but instead he just showed up, knocked that base out. But, you know, there's counterplay. There's opportunities here for Kira, so we got to see what he can do. This is the entirety of his army here.
A lot of disruptors right now sitting between the 3rd and 4th base ramps here for Clasic.
Good scan. Good scan to kill that.
Yeah, the rest of his army right now is on the left side. He wants to try and set up basically a flank here. Here where the scan is going to identify that. Now for Clasic, because there's only these 4 disruptors, you got to be really careful trickling out the shots. You do not want Kira to completely collapse on this position. Nice connection there, catches one of these ghosts. I believe only 1 more disruptor shot in the bank right here at this 3rd base. Now waiting for the rest of them to recharge. A Warpin's going to come in. Disruptor shot's not available just yet. A couple seconds away still. That means this Nexus is going to fall. And Clasic, he's actually going for a base trade tasteless. He's sending the rest of his army right into the heart of the beast. The natural expansion here for Kira. Kira, he has to make a decision. Do you go for the throat of Clasic yourself, or do you come back and defend? Right now, it seems like it's basically 50-50. He's like, you know what? I have enough army. I'm going to go for this with the Vikings. There aren't Stalkers here to assist. I can probably take them down, but no, there are. They were in the natural expansion. Now blinking down, able to snipe a lot of those Vikings. Kira, his army a little bit disjointed here across 2 sections of the map. Clasic has literally everything in the natural expansion of Kira in this moment.
Seems like he's going to just go push into these other bases. This is a really weird game. Basically, Kira's going to try to just take out all the other bases and then recover. So this is really rare to see. He's going to kill that Nexus. This base is going to go down. And it's going to be an attempted reset here from Kira. I think Clasic's got the lead. He has a way to close this out. What Kira's going to try to do is really technical. It's really hard to do. Remember that, like, they don't have that much money banked up. They're both supply blocked, by the way. Nobody can make anything. There's 60 probes. There's 16 SCVs. But there's, oh my god, here we go.
All right, Clasic able to get the pounce on this army here in the top left. The Stalkers focus firing down. The medevac sacrificing their lives. Disruptor shots are huge on the Marines. Oh man, you were just talking about, Tasteless, how technical it is. This tactic that Kira is trying, having two armies on opposite sides of the map, plus all the reinforcements sitting in the main base, and Clasic was able to isolate one of those armies and completely clean it up. I think up until now, there was a world where Kira, because the army supplies were basically equal, even though he had relatively no economy, he might have been able to take the Dream engagement and still close this one out with a 3-0. But now, that army going down to the top left, it's like his Achilles heel. It is going to be so challenging for Kira to stabilize from this position. The army supplies, they are still even, but just like you said, Tasteless, 60 workers here for Clasic. He's rebuilding the third. He is rebuilding the fourth. Once these bases are saturated, Clasic is going to be maxed in like 1 to 2 minutes. Kira's window right now is closing fast.
Yeah, keep in mind that it's not like you can just A-move into the Terran army. You got to have good disruptor shots. We saw, even though that fight was won by Clasic up there, like, Kira sniped a lot of disruptors. He was really good. Both players are trying to get back on their feet as far as economy goes. You can see right now, Kira isn't even getting minerals. He's waiting for this command center to land. There's a couple minerals coming in for Clasic. He's still long distance mining. That just now ended with the Nexus completing.
Tasteless, we have only one medevac. I just
I didn't even realize
this army
that, yeah.
isn't even fully healed from the Sims in the past.
Oh my God, I'm glad you pointed that out, State. I wasn't really paying attention to that part of the army, but yeah, it's actually Vikings and not medevac. So I think Clasic should be able to just come in and kill him.
Yeah, this is like David versus Goliath, except Goliath is a lightsaber that's like 30 meters
It's like
tall.
David versus Goliath, but David doesn't have a slingshot, is what this is. It's just like a small guy against a big guy.
Oh, man. I don't see a world where Kira is able to stabilize here. But, you know, it's been such a scrappy game that when you're in the moment like this from Kira, you can't really know exactly what the position is. But, yeah. I mean, this is just a completely developed Protoss army about to collapse on the one mining base from Kira. Kira, to his credit, he's trying everything he can. He's going to pull the SCVs. Massive arc of Bio coming in. Vikings connecting there on the top side. Disruptor shots, not very good just yet. Some small connections. Bio actually doing a really good job on the ground, but there is no healing. We only have 2 medevacs right now, and there is just no sustain here for the Terran army. Kira, he tried one of the more technical comebacks here after the base trade, but Clasic in one of the more insane games of PBT that we've had, just insane games in general that we've had so far in this GSL, is able to get on the board.
Thank God, man. That was really good by Clasic. You know, I gotta say, he really stuck to the plan.
Yeah.
I like the kind of bold move in the mid game to just sweep into the third, poke it out, and then just run away. It's been a really interesting series so far. I gotta say, though, at the same time, Kira looked really scary. Even in that last fight, I'm so glad you pointed out the medevacs, because that was, you know, I'm just sort of used to there always being a lot of medevacs. It's not always something I zero in on. Kira was kind of playing a world-class game even when he was losing. Like, he looked really scary. Pylon is going to be the map for Game 4. Clasic has started the comeback. The challenge is he has to keep that going. He has to win 2 more in a row, because if Kira just takes 1 more game off of him, Kira's going on to the finals.
Clasic needs a full reverse sweep, and it's really interesting to me that the game that Clasic has won so far in this series is the game where he elected to not build the Templar Archives. The Templar Archives has been really the mainstay of Protoss macro PBT throughout this entire GSL, largely because of the new energy rechargeability. You know, you warp in your first Templar, it's instantly got plus 100 energy. When Storm is done, you usually have at least 2 more Storms than you normally would. Sometimes you might even have 3, depending on that timing. And Clasic just completely stuck to his guns there in game number 3. He's like, you know what? I'm going to keep it simple. Colossi, Disruptors, Stalkers, that's going to be my main army. I'm going to be mobile. I'm going to use that force and try and get some crazy situations. It worked out for him in game number 3. Can he do the same now in game number 4? Let's get into this, guys. Kira is 1 map win away from the finals. And Clasic, he's right on death's door, Tasteless.
Let's get into it. Protoss in the bottom right, Terran in the top left. Each of these games has been very, very cool to see how they develop.
I'm getting stressed watching this.
I want to know if Kira's going to go for some kind of sharp timing, like game 2, or if he's going to go back to kind of just general broad play. Because, like, you look at game 1, and it was like Classic got pretty damn scary, but Cure had like basically perfect endgame. Like kind of ran around the map, killed off all these bases. Game 1 and Game 3 are very similar to each other. The difference is that in Game 3, Classic got the best of Cure. Cure kind of tried to do what he did in Game 1, but it didn't really matter because, again, Classic was too big to fail. There's too many bases to wipe out. You know, whereas Classic could basically just plow through the few expansions that are there. It actually put Cure onto one base for a little bit. And he had to kind of float a command center out there.
Oh, that was the main command center that went all the way down to the 6 o'clock base.
Yeah. It was literally the
crazy.
starting command center had to like become the newest expansion. But you know, in that series, you have to wonder. Okay, so does Cure look at that and go like, well, let's just try a timing again. The timing's worked out beautifully, and let's avoid a standard game that's going to be, you know, a tit for tat in the end game.
I think regardless of what he goes for, he's going to have a good shot. Because really, Game 3, what it felt like from my perspective is that Classic won that game based on positioning more than anything else. The fact that Cure was not ready at the triangle third when Classic had come in, he just didn't see that move coming in. Honestly, I didn't even really expect Classic to go for that push. It was like the first domino falling in this just insane stack. I mean, Cure, he was already playing a pretty good game. He had a worker advantage for much of it in a TVP, which is very rare. By the way, Concussive Shell coming in with a Marauder, so a little bit of a mix-up here from Cure. Classic has been pretty aggressive with the early gateway units, and I wonder if this is an adjustment that Cure is making throughout this series. He's like, well, if Classic moves out again with the Stalker, this time I'm going to have a Concussive Shell Marauder to just one hit, lock that thing down, keep it slow, and confirm the kill. We'll see if Classic does decide to play as aggressively as he does with the initial gateway units as he did in the past. But Cure in that game number 3, if he doesn't get out-positioned at that third base, and then also if two things needed to happen. Classic needed to out-position him at the third base and then also section off that army in the top left. Otherwise, I think it's either an even game or Cure is potentially ahead. So I have no fears for Cure if he decides to just go right back to the book and play another standard macro-style TVP like he did in Game 1, like he did in Game 3.
So the Hallucinated Phoenix is going to come up here and do a quick scout.
Oh, wow. We have 3 racks before Starport.
Yeah, this is different. I actually kind of thought this wasn't really much of a thing anymore.
Yeah, this is my least favorite thing to hit on the ladder, by the way.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Dude, so, I lose to this all the time.
The big difference here is like, okay, you're going to have a lot more stuff out of the barracks. The medevacs are later. Now, with medevacs, you have the ability to attack anywhere, right? I mean, that's... it's kind of insane that Blizzard even made units like this that could transport stuff and fly and heal.
Yeah, it was an ambitious
It was actually a pretty controversial when the game came out. I remember people being like, are you serious?
But it's awesome.
You know?
I'm really glad they did it. It feels like it makes Terran so much more dynamic.
But what I'm trying to get to is like, okay, so this game he didn't get the medevacs, which we've been seeing every game today, right? So what this has, this packs more punch, doesn't have the same kind of sustain, but it also doesn't have like the range of places you could attack. So the way that you have to approach this as the Protoss is you have to like absolutely make sure you have enough to fight this specifically, and you don't have to worry about it, as an example, being in your main. Yeah, you know where it's going to come. You can even intercept it in the middle of the map. That's an option. A lot of times when you see pushes like this, that's a way to play, or even like force him to siege up and then run away because you buy more time. So you know, Classic, the question's going to be like, does he have the recipe? Does he have the formula to take this on? Because he saw it. It's no secret. You don't look at 3 barracks and go, I wonder what he's doing there. You go, he's going to make stuff out of the 3 barracks.
I think Classic might be going up to 8 gateways right now.
Yeah, I think that's the play.
2 or 3 are done already, and he just has 5 more being complete. This is a really smart response, because what you were saying, Tasteless, about kiting the Terran as they try to move cross-map, that is how you deal with this. There's basically no healing in this army. We actually still do not have a starport. It's going to be siege tanks and bios.
He might actually pull SCVs with this, too.
Yeah, every stim is going to be permanent damage. I think you need to pull SCVs with a push like this one. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where you might need to stim a small group of units and take just permanent damage. 2 more barracks in production. This is pure power from Cure. This is nothing but damage. There's no support. There's no healing. There's no dropship play. This is going to be as strong a Terran army as you could possibly get at this stage in the game. So what Classic needs to do is basically what he's doing right now. You have these stalkers in the center of the map, and you try to slowly chip away at the Terran army. Any damage that you can do until those medevacs get out is basically permanent damage. all those Marines, they are not healing up. They do not have a healing cell. This is not Dota. They need medevacs on the field, man. There's nothing else you can do. And so the fact that he's adding in all these additional gateways, he's going into charge, makes me think that if Clasic has this huge swell of Stalkers and is just able to kite with a massive arc throughout the map, Cure's army, once it reaches Classic's base, is already going to have taken a lot of damage, but it's things like this that scare me a little bit. This Forge timing, this Robo timing, is Classic thinking, surely you're transitioning out of this. That is not what's happening. We have even more barracks in production. The SCVs are getting pulled. Is Classic going to be spread too thin with this Forge and this Robo? I don't think you can go for the upgrades. I don't think you can go for the Immortals. You need all hands on deck. You need the biggest possible army right now you can have, Classic. This is a very scary moment.
He's going to attack it right now. The arc is looking good. He snipes one of the Stalkers. The SCVs are here. He's going to throw the bunkers down. It's the same theme as game 2. He's going to leapfrog one tank. He's going to be careful. He needs to have some tank siege so he can cover the tank that's going to advance forward. He hasn't generated enough of a threat yet. The push itself, it's kind of far away. Oh! He did kill that. I know it looked weird. It disappeared. Oh, and he's going to attack it from this side too.
The Zealots coming in are able to get on top of 2 of those siege tanks, cleaning them up. The Stalkers did get deflected there on the top side, but they were able to buy enough time to kill a lot of these SCVs, maybe even all the SCVs. The bunkers are no longer under construction.
Oh, I think this attack failed.
Oh man, Classic with some really smart positional play. Another SCV is coming. Yeah, the reinforcing SCVs, they're now here. Again, that was a big stim from Cure. That healing is not coming through. There is still no starport. The mining for Cure is very spread thin. We're gonna have another engagement here in a moment, Tasteless. The next siege tank is coming. Guardian Shield about to pop.
He's stimming, he's kiting. The tank is gonna be moved back. The question is, do you have enough? Remember, every stim can't be healed. There is no medevac here. More Marines are gonna spill in. Classic is basically trying to buy time. Again, taking out even this gateway is a big deal. Taking out the 2 gateways to the right of that is a huge deal. In fact, the pylon is exposed here, so he's going to shut that down. Way less warp-ins here. The probes have been pulled.
All right, probes are pulled. All hands on deck right now for Classic to try and defend this. The Marines are solo on HP. The Stalkers with 2 or 3 shots are able to kill most of them, but the DPS from this Terran bio is so high. It's still 40 army supply here for Cure. It's just the 14 of Classic. Classic has very little income right now. Moves past the line of sight blocker. There is another siege tank. 1 more in production. That'll be rallied across the map very shortly. We no longer have Stalkers intercepting the reinforcements. Now going for a surround is Classic. These Marines, they are so injured, Tasteless. They're deep in the red. Another Stalker goes down. Every unit loss is critical in a moment like this one.
He needs to get that tank further forward. He's not getting anything done right now. All the Protoss has to do is buy time. 41 probes, 26 SCVs. Zealots have been amassed a little bit more. Another tank's inbound here. An Immortal's going to be out. That can snipe the tank very easily. He cleans that up. And I think he might have enough. No, hold on a second. He's going to step forward.
These are +1 Marines, man. Yeah. They have so much DPS.
The thing is, Classic, I think he wasn't watching that last fight for a second. He warps in again. And you're right, the upgrades on the Marines are making a huge difference. More SCVs have been pulled. He's even more all in that sense. He's recalling probes over to this base so he can get some resources from it. But now the target, no, never mind. He's going to go to the natural. He's going to throw the bunker down. This is the longest all-in I've ever seen. It's crazy.
More Zealots warping in. The Stalkers right now back to intercepting these reinforcements. But this is a scary position, man. Hold position micro on these SCVs could be huge when those Adepts come in. Okay, the Zealots now, they're charging for the Stalkers. They are able to snipe down that siege tank, but there's just so much bio left. I mean, these Marines, they have no HP, but they don't need it to. They do have so much damage. It is 6 army supply for Classic. Another warp in here on the high ground. The natural expansion is forfeit. The bunker is going to complete. 40 Marines to 5 Stalkers in 1 Zealot. Cure has fully eclipsed the army supply of Classic. Tasteless, I think he has done it with this just insane build. No medevacs, 10 minutes in, nothing but barracks and siege tanks, nothing but pure firepower from the Korean Terran. And Cure, Tasteless, I think he's done it.
Dude, this is a insane game. GG, Cure going to the finals. We got another PVT coming up for you guys. That was wild. For so long, it looked like Classic was going to maybe barely hold. And it's like he just kept pushing. And then there was this period where, you know, for a little bit it looked like, okay, he might be able to hold it, but he didn't micro back some of the Stalkers. The Marines stimmed, they shoved in. They shot down like, I want to say like 7 stalkers there. They killed that Immortal. This is going to be a great finals, by the way.
Hero versus Cure. Dude, Cure looked so good against Clasic. That was just unbelievable late game play in game number 1. Fantastic timing attacks later on in the series. Even the game that he lost, he was in such a commanding position for so long. I cannot wait to get started with the finals in just a moment here. We're going to have arguably the best Terran player, the best TVP player in the world going up against Hero, who looks nigh unstoppable in this GSL.
Yeah.
Everybody is scared of him.
That was a great series. You know, and talk about, you know, the 2 series we had were so different from each other. I'm really curious how these 2 players are going to interact, but I got to say, Cure has got a lot at his disposal to take on. His end game is peak performance. His timing attacks are so sharp. I mean, that was one where like the Protoss scouted everything. Like, you know what's coming. The question is, are you fast enough? Can you control well enough? And by the way, Clasic got behind that pushing army back there. So usually that's how you stop the all-in, is you snipe the other tanks and the Marines, and then you just buy, you know, maybe like a minute and a half, just buy whatever time you can, and then you come in and you smash it. But even with that, Cure managed to reconfigure the position and then keep the all-in going. It's funny, too, because when you say an all-in, right, it means it's all going to come down to this one moment. Does it work? Does it not? You don't have all-ins that kind of go on for a long time, and it's still not clear who's going to take it. So that was really special.
Yeah, that was a very cool build that Cure brought out here in the final map, and I cannot wait to see what he's going to bring to the table against Hero. I feel like it's going to look really different, even potentially from both the series we've seen so far today. Hero is a very different Protoss player from Clasic. He is much more willing to fight those micro styles. And guys, we're going to go to a short break. When we get back, the GSL finals between Hero and Cure. You do not want to miss it. We'll see you soon.
Get a move on if you're trying to catch on up to me. Hitting corners and sliding up in these bucket seats. Pedal to the metal, broke the chains, now I'm feeling free.